Today we're going to tell you the story of the evolution of beef. I am a beef producer and a beef consumer, and I think the evolution between how cattle used to get from the range to the meat case is certainly one worth sharing. All of us walk into either a restaurant, a grocery store, or a meat market, order a plentiful supply of well-fed beef, but I wonder how much you know about where the beef industry began and how the Civil War truly played a role in what the beef industry is today. We're going to scanty on up the Chisholm Trail and show you the evolution of the beef industry. Start with, until the era that we know today as the Civil War, our nation's families truly relied upon the pig for our daily sustenance: fatback, lard, pork bellies. And then at the end of the Civil War, when our nation had much and most of the resources in the eastern half of the country destroyed as a result of the war itself, there was a group of cowboys, vaqueros we called them, here in South Texas, where we are at now. There were many Texas Longhorns roaming free in the territory of Texas. And then these cowboys decided there were markets in the north and resources and food products that needed to be supplied to the eastern half of the United States. So cowboys would round up the cattle, trail them 750 miles straight north of where we are at today to a town called Abilene, Kansas. From a period of 1865 until about 1881, 6 million head of Texas Longhorns went up what is known today as the Chisholm Trail. After they arrived in Abilene, Kansas, they were placed on rail cars, railed into central Illinois, where they were finished on the prairie grasses, and then ultimately ending up in Chicago. Those carcasses were then put on refrigerated rail cars and sent into the eastern half of the United States where the population was. So you want to talk about the way food production used to be. You can see that a 750-mile journey of these cattle walking, crossing rivers, dealing with the elements, rainstorms, floods, and the ability to get that food to the eastern half of the United States required a tremendous amount of dedication and fortitude. So now that you should have a better vision of what beef production was like in the early days of our country truly relying upon the beef cattle for sustenance, let's take a look at the advancements in technology that evolved an industry into walking cattle 750 miles to where we are at today, and the better treatment, the protection of the environment, and all of the things that make the beef industry what it truly is. In every segment of the beef industry, there have been tremendous advancements. Even at the cow-calf sector, there's the backgrounding sector. But I would be willing to bet that in no sector of the beef industry have there been more changes, more science and technology adapted to the industry than right here at the feedlot. Today I happen to be standing near Grand Island, Nebraska with the owner-manager of T&E Cattle Company, Greg Baxter. If you could kind of give us a quick synopsis of what happens from receiving day until later we'll see some cattle that are being loaded out that have been fed complete. What's kind of the transition from now till then?
Well, it depends. Each operation is slightly different. Here at our operation, we take a series of days. Now, these particular cattle, where they were just fresh weaned, they'll actually do a full course of 6 different rations. Each ration, by definition, would have different inclusion rates of various feed ingredients. But each ration, then, it stair steps the energy level that is within that ration as the animals are consuming. They start growing physically and maturity-wise to where they are capable of digesting a higher energy ration. So it's a very progressive stage. Now these cattle, they'll start on a very low energy ration, and they'll spend over the course of the next 90 days eating low to moderate energy rations, and we hold them at that level and let their body mature and grow physically before they move on to that next level of higher energy.
The ration we're looking at here in the bunk is the high energy ration, the last ration that's being fed to these cattle. How do you decide what that ration is going to be? Kind of walk us through that.
Well, We do rely heavily on our consulting nutritionist. It's a group, and these are people who have finished educations in the biologics behind designing a ration that is appropriate for that animal at that stage of life.
One of the buzzwords in society today is hormones. Are you using any implants, estrogen-based hormones in the feedlot sector?
We do in two different forms. We do use the growth implants, as they're commonly referred to, maybe an estradiol or something of that nature. That the whole premise behind using those is that allows the animal to convert that energy into red meat more than waste fat. So we're trying to, that's a tool that we use to help us produce lean beef, which today our consumer is asking us for lean beef, and from a health perspective, that's what the industry is trying to produce more of.
And I will have to jump in here because a 3-ounce serving of beef from one of your animals that has received 2 implants will have 1.69 nanograms of estrogen, 1.69 nanograms of estrogen. A soy latte that you might get in town has 30,000 nanograms of estrogen. A birth control pill has 34,000 nanograms of estrogen. So I just want to point out that we have hormones in our daily lives, and there's really no reason for this to even be a subject of conversation. What I'd like to do now is find out where you mix this feed in the bunk. Can we do that?
You bet. We can go take a look at our feed mill.
And now we have made our way into the feed mill. First of all, Greg, this is a fairly new state-of-the-art feed mill.
That's correct. This facility, we actually replaced an older facility that it's just been here for right at 1 year now.
And I would be willing to bet that a lot of people that have not been in feed mills of any type, I'm sure they think that there's a computer involved, but the actual tracking of everything that takes on in here, there's not much guesswork that takes place.
No, there isn't. In fact, the correctly formulating and preparing rations for cattle is a pretty finite production process, and we are regularly measuring each individual ingredient in very, very small details so that we don't have variances from what their theoretical prescribed diet should be to what they actually receive in the bunk. A lot of people, I think, the consumers, and I certainly can't fault them, they've never had the opportunity to see what takes place in the production sector. But most people just simply don't realize that the great steps that go into and the care that's taken to deliver a quality feed that has the appropriate nutritional requirements for their body, because the reality is for the producer to benefit at our maximum potential performance-wise, that animal needs to benefit nutritionally at its maximum level to perform at its best as well. So, I mean, we are very scrupulous with the individual ingredients that we feed and the quality of those ingredients that we receive on a daily basis.
Greg Baxter reminding me of a conversation that I had with a dietitian last week. She said she likes feeding people in the hospital because she can give them exactly what they need every day. You're much like a dietitian, Greg, because you're giving these cattle everything they need with every bite. It's a balanced diet, no matter what time of the day they consume it.
Well, that's generally the idea, yes.
So the next time you're thinking about ordering beef, whether it's in a restaurant like the Barn Door here in San Antonio, Texas, your local meat market, or simply at home, grilling for your family, you can rest assured that thanks to the science and the technology that's been implemented by the beef industry in the country today, that we use fewer resources to feed more people. In fact, the final note I want you to take home, thanks to the evolution of the beef industry and the science and the technology, we have the same exact number of cows that we had in this country in 1955, and yet we produce twice as much human consumable protein. If you want to talk about green, you want to talk about environmentally friendly, it's today's farmer and rancher and individuals in the beef industry that are truly leading the way. It's time for my ribeye, but thanks for joining us. I'm Trent Luce.